My best friend dared me to wear a wig. Now I'm his crush. The room was quiet except for the faint hum of my laptop and the occasional creak of the old wooden floorboards. I sat on the edge of my bed, nervously glancing at the small box in my hands. It wasn't just any box. It held a wig, long and silky, the kind I had never dared to try before. I'm Alex, a 19-year-old college student, trying to navigate the awkward waters of adulthood. I've always been adventurous in private, dabbling in makeup, experimenting with feminine clothes, testing boundaries, but I've never crossed certain lines. Never before had I imagined wearing a wig in front of anyone, least of all my best friend, Jason, who had a mischievous grin and a knack for daring me into embarrassing situations. Jason and I had been inseparable since high school. He knew everything about me, or at least he thought he did. We had spent countless weekends playing video games, trading secrets, and challenging each other with ridiculous bets. But this dare felt different. It wasn't about skill or courage. It was about identity, vulnerability, and exposure. The dare had started as a joke. We were sitting in his messy bedroom, surrounded by posters of pop idols and stacks of comic books, when he smirked and tossed me the challenge. "I bet you wouldn't look cute in a wig. You're too scared to try." My cheeks had flushed instantly. I wanted to back down, to say no, but something inside me, the part that craved adventure, that secretly loved the thrill of experimenting, spiked with excitement. That night, I snuck into my room with the wig tucked under my arm. I had carefully set up a mirror and a small vanity lamp, hoping the glow would make the transformation feel magical rather than exposing. I took a deep breath, my fingers trembling as I untangled the silky strands. The thought of Jason seeing me like this, or anyone, sent shivers down my spine. I began by washing my face, smoothing out the tension in my jaw, and then carefully putting on a light layer of foundation. Each brushstroke was deliberate, cautious, as if the makeup itself were a shield. When I placed the wig on my head, it fell perfectly around my shoulders. I tilted my head in the mirror, watching the reflection morph into someone unrecognizable yet intoxicatingly familiar. The mirror reflected more than my face. It reflected a hidden version of me that I had kept locked away. My heart raced. For years, I had explored this side of myself in secret, fearing judgment or ridicule. But now, with the wig in place and my best friend's dare echoing in my mind, I felt a strange combination of fear and exhilaration. For the first time, I wasn't hiding. I was stepping towards something I couldn't fully name: freedom, curiosity, or perhaps even a deeper understanding of who I was. Jason's voice rang in my mind. "Bet you look adorable." It was meant to tease, to provoke, but it did something else. It lit a spark. I adjusted the wig, smoothing the strands over my shoulders, and felt a thrill run through me. I imagined his reaction, the mix of surprise, admiration, and maybe even attraction. That thought made my stomach twist in ways I hadn't expected. As I finished, I realized I was trembling, not from fear alone, but from anticipation. This was more than a dare. It was a test of courage, a challenge to my own boundaries. And deep down, I knew I couldn't stop at just trying it once. The room felt smaller, cozier, yet charged with tension. My phone sat on the desk, notifications muted. The outside world temporarily paused. For the next few hours, I would exist entirely in this transformed self, a version of me that was both daring and delicate. I wasn't sure if I was ready for what would come next, but I knew one thing. After this night, nothing would feel the same. Little did I know, the dare would ignite something unexpected. Jason's reaction would be the first spark in a chain of events that would push me into an emotional roller coaster, blurring the lines between friendship, attraction, and self-discovery. With every flick of the wig and every careful adjustment of makeup, I was stepping closer to a reality where I was no longer just Alex. I was a version of me that Jason, and maybe the world, couldn't ignore. I took one last look in the mirror, heart pounding, and whispered to myself, "Here goes nothing." The next morning, I woke up with a mix of excitement and dread. My transformation from the previous night lingered in my mind like a vivid dream. The wig, now carefully folded in its box, seemed almost like a secret talisman, a symbol of the side of me I hadn't dared to show anyone, until Jason's dare forced me out of hiding. I dressed quickly, my movements mechanical, but my thoughts raced. Every glance in the mirror reminded me of the night before. I couldn't help but replay the feeling of silk against my shoulders, the soft brush of foundation on my skin, and the thrill of seeing a reflection that looked nothing like the Alex everyone thought they knew. When I arrived at Jason's apartment for our usual Saturday gaming session, I felt an unusual nervousness. What if he expected me to wear the wig again? What if he laughed, or worse, stared in a way that made me feel exposed? As I entered, he looked up from his console, grinning as usual. "Morning, sleepyhead. Ready for round 2? He asked, not mentioning the dare. I forced a smile, trying to keep my composure.
Yeah.
"Let's do it," I replied, though my mind was elsewhere. Throughout the day, my thoughts kept drifting back to the transformation. I remembered the tiny flicker of power I felt wearing the wig, the sense that I was stepping into a persona that felt both exhilarating and frightening. I realized that the dare had unlocked something deeper, something I hadn't been aware of until now. Later, Jason pulled out his phone, scrolling through social media. "Hey, check this out," he said, showing me a makeup tutorial video. "Think you could pull this off?" My stomach twisted. The video featured a dramatic look, bold eyeshadow, winged eyeliner, glossy lips. A part of me wanted to try it, to push the boundaries even further, but another part panicked at the thought of someone actually seeing me like that. I don't know," I muttered. Jason laughed. "Come on, don't chicken out. You looked amazing last night. Just think of it as practice for your own mini transformation challenge." His words lingered in my mind long after the gaming session ended. Back in my room, I couldn't resist the urge to recreate the look. The wig came out of its box again, silky strands spilling over my shoulders. I positioned myself in front of the mirror, carefully applying eyeshadow, blending blush, and experimenting with lip gloss. The more I transformed, the more I felt a mix of emotions, excitement, fear, and an undeniable thrill. Each brushstroke and each adjustment of the wig heightened the tension inside me. I imagined someone seeing me like this, and the thought sent shivers down my spine. But instead of retreating, I felt a strange sense of empowerment. This was a side of me that had been dormant, and now it was alive, vibrant, and impossible to ignore. Hours passed in a blur of experimentation and self-reflection. I stood in front of the mirror, analyzing every detail, adjusting every strand of hair, and smoothing every line of makeup. The reflection staring back was confident, alluring, and unmistakably me, but a version of me I had never shown the world. Then came the real test, stepping outside the privacy of my room. I had to go to the corner store for some snacks, and the idea of leaving my apartment in full transformation terrified me. But the thrill was irresistible. With trembling hands, I donned the wig and a casual yet stylish outfit I had picked out, one that accentuated the transformation without drawing too much attention. Each step toward the door was a battle between fear and excitement. The hallway felt narrower than usual, the walls closing in with the pressure of potential exposure. I opened the door and stepped outside, my heart pounding with every footstep. The world seemed sharper, brighter, as if the transformation had amplified not just my appearance, but my perception of everything around me. At the store, I felt eyes on me. Not just casual glances, but curious, lingering stares that made my cheeks burn. Some looked intrigued, others confused, and a few even seemed approving. I couldn't tell if it was the wig, the makeup, or the subtle confidence I carried, but the reaction was intoxicating. I felt vulnerable and powerful at the same time, a contradiction that thrilled and terrified me. Returning home, I replayed every moment in my mind. The thrill of transformation, the risk of being seen, and the growing realization that this side of me wasn't going away. It was becoming a part of who I was. And the more I experimented, the more I craved the experience. That evening, Jason called. "So, you tried it outside?" he asked, a teasing lilt in his voice. I hesitated, feeling my pulse quicken. "Yeah, I did," I admitted softly. There was a pause on the line, Then he laughed. "I knew you'd do it. And I bet you looked amazing." His words sent a rush through me. The combination of secrecy, transformation, and approval from someone I trusted created a heady mix of emotions. I realized that this was more than just a dare now. It was a journey into uncharted territory, one that would test my confidence, my limits, and my very identity. By the end of the week, I found myself thinking about the wig, the makeup, and the thrill of transformation constantly. It was no longer just an experiment. It had become an obsession, a private escape that I couldn't ignore. And deep down, I knew that the real challenge wasn't just in the transformation, it was in keeping it a secret, in navigating the delicate balance between excitement and exposure. As I lay in bed that night, staring at the ceiling, I whispered to myself, "I can't stop now. I don't want to." The thought was both exhilarating and terrifying, the perfect prelude to the suspense that was about to consume every aspect of my life. The next week was a whirlwind of emotions. My obsession with the transformation had grown into a near-constant preoccupation. I found myself planning every detail, which outfits would flatter the wig, what makeup colors would accentuate my eyes, how to walk, gesture, and speak with the confidence of this new persona. Every mirror became a testing ground, every glance a rehearsal. One evening, Jason called me with excitement in his voice. "Hey, there's a local beauty event tomorrow. A mini influencer showcase. You should come with your look. People will love it." My heart pounded at the suggestion. The thought of stepping into a public setting fully transformed was thrilling and terrifying at the same time. I hesitated, imagining the stares, the whispers, the possibility of embarrassment. But the pull of the transformation, the desire to push my limits, was irresistible. "Okay, maybe," I said cautiously, my voice betraying both fear and excitement. The following day, I prepared meticulously. I layered foundation, shaped my brows, applied eyeshadow, and finished with a glossy lip. The wig felt like a crown, the final piece in a transformation that was more than skin deep. Each step of the process heightened both the thrill and the anxiety. My reflection in the mirror didn't just show me. It revealed someone new, confident yet vulnerable, bold yet fragile. When I arrived at the event, the room was buzzing with people. Influencers, photographers, and curious onlookers filled the space. My nerves spiked as I realized that every step forward was a gamble. One misstep, one glance, one awkward moment could expose the secret I'd worked so hard to control. Jason appeared beside me, grinning. "You ready? Let's make you shine." We walked through the crowd, and I felt the weight of every gaze. Some were approving, others curious, a few skeptical. But each look made my heart race. I smiled, adjusted the wig, and kept my posture poised, navigating the social minefield with as much grace as I could muster. Then came the first close call. A photographer, eager for a candid shot, stepped right in front of me. His lens focused, and for a moment I froze, imagining him seeing past the persona I'd created. My breath caught, and I felt a rush of vulnerability. But I forced a smile, struck a confident pose, and the photographer moved on, satisfied with the shot. The relief was immediate, but it was short-lived. Across the room, a familiar face caught my attention, Emma. My stomach dropped. She wasn't supposed to be here. The panic rose in me as I realized she could recognize me, could see through the makeup, the wig, the transformation. I ducked behind a display table, my heart hammering. Jason noticed my sudden disappearance. "Everything okay?" he asked, concern flickering across his face. I need a minute," I whispered, my voice shaky. From my hiding spot, I watched Emma move through the crowd, laughing and talking to someone I didn't know. The fear of being discovered was nearly suffocating, yet there was a strange thrill in the danger. Every second felt electric, the risk amplifying every sensation. The silk of the wig, the brush of makeup, the weight of the outfit on my body. As I debated whether to leave or stay, a group of attendees approached, mistaking me for a fellow influencer. They wanted photos, selfies, compliments. My anxiety spiked, but I couldn't back down now. I smiled, posed, and even laughed at their jokes, my heart racing as I maintained the illusion. The exhilaration of being admired, of being seen as someone else, was intoxicating. Just as I began to relax, Emma's voice called out behind me. "Alex? Is that you?" My stomach dropped. The crowd's laughter and chatter seemed to fade as all focus turned toward us. I turned slowly, my pulse thundering, and there she was, staring, eyes wide with confusion and recognition. Jason appeared at my side, sensing the tension. "Relax, that's fine," he whispered, but I could feel the weight of exposure pressing down on me. Emma took a step closer, her expression a mixture of shock and curiosity. I don't understand," she said softly. The world seemed to hold its breath. Every movement, every glance, every heartbeat felt magnified. The persona I had worked so hard to maintain was on the brink of collapse. I could feel the wig slipping slightly, the foundation under my eyes threatening to crack, the nerves in my legs trembling. One misstep could unravel everything. In a split second, I made a choice. I smiled, held my head high, and decided to embrace the transformation fully. "It's me," I said, my voice trembling but confident. "But a different me, one I've been exploring." Emma's reaction was unreadable. She tilted her head, studying me, and for a moment I feared rejection. Then she smiled, a mixture of amusement and intrigue. "Well, you do look amazing." The relief was overwhelming, yet the suspense wasn't gone. I realized that while Emma's initial reaction was positive, the real test, the aftermath, the judgment of others, and the choices I'd have to make, was still ahead. The night ended with more photos, more whispers, and more attention than I had anticipated. The thrill of transformation had reached its peak, but so had the stakes. Every glance, every comment, every step was a delicate balance between empowerment and exposure. As I walked home, wig tucked safely in my bag, I felt a mix of triumph and terror. The transformation had shown me a new side of myself, one that was daring, confident, and magnetic. But the fear of being discovered, of judgment, and of losing control of this secret lingered like a shadow behind every step. By the time I entered my apartment, I knew one thing for certain: nothing would ever be the same. The transformation had changed me, not just physically, but emotionally, socially, and psychologically. And the real suspense, the delicate dance between fear, desire, and identity, was only beginning. I thought the night would end with a quiet return home, but fate had other plans. As I stepped through the door, still buzzing from the evening's events, I noticed a small envelope slipped under the welcome mat. My pulse quickened instantly. Who could have left it? I picked it up cautiously. The handwriting was unfamiliar, elegant, yet slightly menacing. My hands trembled as I tore it open. Inside was a single photo, me, in full transformation at the event, smiling for the camera. My wig, makeup, and outfit were all perfectly captured. Attached to the photo was a note. "Impressive, but everyone is watching now." A chill ran down my spine. Someone had been observing me, tracking my every move. The thrill I had felt earlier transformed into a pulse of fear. Was it a fan? A rival influencer? Or someone closer than I realized? My mind raced. If this got out, my secret life, my exploration of identity, everything I had worked to build, could be exposed in an instant. The thought of Emma seeing this, or anyone else for that matter, made my stomach twist with dread. Yet beneath that fear, an unexpected thrill bubbled up. The danger, the secrecy, the power of living on the edge. It was intoxicating. Just then, my phone buzzed. A message from an unknown number. "I know who you really are. Are you ready for the next step?" I stared at the screen, my heart hammering. I didn't know whether to be terrified or excited. The message hinted at more, a continuation, an escalation of this mysterious game I had unwittingly entered. I glanced at the photo again. The smiling face I had worn so confidently now seemed fragile, vulnerable. The reflection of my transformed self stared back at me from the glossy paper, a silent reminder that every choice, every dare, every moment of exposure carried consequences I hadn't fully considered. And then, a sound from a hallway made me jump, a soft knock at the door. My pulse skipped a beat. Who could it be at this hour? I froze, clutching the envelope, torn between hiding and confronting whoever was out there. "Alex, open up," a familiar voice called. It was Jason. Relief and panic warred within me. He had probably come to check on me after the event, but in this tense moment, every possibility seemed dangerous. Could he have known more than he let on? Was he part of the game, or just a friend unaware of the risks? I held my breath, debating my next move. Should I open the door? Should I run? Should I hide the evidence of my transformation and pretend nothing had happened? Each option carried weight, each choice a risk. The knock came again, louder this time. And then another message buzzed on my phone. "You can't hide forever. Choose wisely." My heart pounded. The night that had begun with excitement and empowerment had shifted into a tense game of suspense. I was no longer just experimenting with identity. I was navigating a web of mystery, risk, and intrigue that I couldn't yet see the end of. And just as I reached for the door handle, the screen on my phone lit up with a video call. The caller ID was blank. Hesitating only for a heartbeat, I answered. A shadowed figure appeared on the screen, their face obscured, voice distorted. "Welcome to the real test. Are you ready to become who you were meant to be?" I froze, the weight of the moment pressing down on me. My transformed persona, my secret life, my identity, all were hanging in the balance. I wanted to hang up, to retreat to safety, but curiosity and adrenaline rooted me to the spot. The camera lingered, and then the screen went black. I was alone, or so I thought. The unanswered question echoed in my mind. Who was behind this? And more importantly, what did they want from me? My pulse still racing, I realized one truth. The journey wasn't over. The transformation had only just begun, and the suspense, the danger, and the excitement were far from finished. I sank onto the couch, gripping the envelope and my phone, my mind spinning with possibilities. Outside, the city lights shimmered, indifferent to my turmoil. Inside, I knew that the next choice I made could change everything. The screen fades to black.